Welcome back to Roast Your Kit. This is episode 6 on the Gear.Locker, and I'm super stoked for all of the awesome kits that we have to share today. If you're not familiar, this is the series on my channel where you send in your impression kits to me, I share them, and I try not to be too mean when I roast them. We have a lot to get through today, but I do want to mention, as always, stick to the very end if you want to see my favorite kit that was sent in over this past month. And if you want to find out how to get your kit in the next episode, episode 7, stay tuned to the end as well, because it's not going to be your standard episode. I have a fun theme that I'm really excited to do and excited to see from you guys. So stick around and find out how you can get yours in the next one. We have over a dozen kits to get through, and I wanted to break this episode up a little bit. First half of the episode is going to be the pre-2000s kits. And then the second half of the episode is going to be the post-2000s. So let's dive right into these awesome impressions that you guys sent in. The first kit comes from Rhodesia Stular, and this is a Rhodesian kit. Starting off pretty controversial already. This is a Rhodesian RLI Screaming Eagle SAS kit that he used with some gear borrowed from friends as well as his own. Taking a look at his kit, in general, it looks pretty generic. No offense to be taken, but it looks like a standard like Rhodesian camo with a Chicom chest rig. And taking a look at your kit list, that seems to be like some of the main stuff. You do have some M56 load-bearing equipment on there, mixed in with some Alice. So I'm not sure where this falls, like year-wise, decades-wise. Maybe if you're more familiar with this conflict, let me know in the comments below if he's looking pretty good with this. I'll be honest, I wish I could have gotten a higher quality picture. This one of you, like, I get it, you're in the middle, but I can't really see too much that's going on. So I'd love to see some more variety, maybe a 360 of all the cool aspects of this kit. Now, all politics aside with it and controversy and whatever, but the pattern and this uniform is very popular in the collecting sphere. It's got a cool look to it, and you can't really deny that. And taking a look at the references, yeah, I feel like you fit the vibe a little bit. I noticed on one of these guys, he's got a bar belt on, and then the other one, he's got a Chicom chest rig. So I think there is some opportunity for you to grow and move forward with this. I'm not an expert in this field at all, which is why I have you guys send in the kit list, and it looks pretty good. Not really my flavor, even if that pattern and everything is kind of sought after. I gotta give this one like a 6.5 out of 10. Not because you did anything wrong from my perspective, I just kind of feel like I'm missing something with it. Our next kit comes from Minuteman Studios, and this is a Vietnam era kit, something that's near and dear to my heart. Minuteman Studios came up with a Vietnam War 1970-1971 US Marine Corps kit. And he wants to mention that this is specifically around the Vietnamization and redeployment era, and he has a ton of details, and this is what I appreciate. He's got the M55 flak vest, he's got the ERDLs, and he's got a very, very heavy looking load. There are so many details to this kit, so I guess we can pick out some of the key ones that I see, but that rucksack, being an Arvin rucksack, is loaded to the max. I like how you have that C-Rack can sticking off there, and you can see on the sleeves those sleep shirt sleeves rolling out. I love that piece of kit. It's one of my favorites to wear at events, so it's cool that you've incorporated it here. I'd be very curious to see how that rucksack would fare over a longer event, especially because it looks very packed out, but there's a lot hanging off. So curious if you did use it, let me know how that went for you. If you learned anything and made any modifications post an event. And if not, I encourage you to try one out. But taking a look at the references, Minuteman Studios nailed the aesthetic here. As you can see in these two photos, yes, you have the M55 flak vest, you have the bandolier with all the magazines in it, you got an empty helmet, not even a band on this one, so you matched a lot of those details well. Minuteman Studios, by the way, go check them out, guys. I'm gonna give you a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10, only because I'm very curious to see how that rucksack would fare for you. You can earn that point back once you tell me in the comments. Continuing on with the historical US kits, we have one from Tag Fraz 9. This kit is a World War II Pacific Theater Army kit. The Pacific series on HBO is one of my favorites of all time, and that focuses on the Pacific Theater, specifically with Marines. They do mention Army briefly in there, and I think that's a really cool, almost forgotten piece of history that the Army was present in the Pacific as well. So it's pretty cool that you're representing this with your impression. I love that you opted to use a bar and a bar belt. I think that contrasts really nicely with your HBTs. You've got a lot of reproduction items, which you did note when you sent me that list. I think it would be really cool if you wore these things in. It's possible that it's just the photos, but I feel like some of the repro items show up pretty yellow and bright, whereas they're a little bit more muted in real life. Regardless, Tag Fraz, let's take a look at those reference photos. And here you have matched that vibe incredibly as well. I love the look on this guy's face, the expression. He's got a very stoic, but also proud, smug look, and I think you kind of emulate that well. But anyway, enough about the look. Let's go on to the kit. You match it pretty well. I don't really notice any differences here or there. Then again, it's only one photo, so I'd love to see more angles of this. But overall, Tag Fraz, I think he did pretty darn good. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Only because I think that stuff is a little too bright, the gear specifically. I'd love to see it darkened up, maybe worn in a little bit more, but regardless, dude, you crushed it. Nice job. Continuing on to another pre-2000s kit, we have one that is unlike anything I've really seen, and I think is a really cool and another kind of unknown piece of history. This one comes from Ethan Dislikes Many Things. Ironic name because he seemed to like this kit enough to do so much work on it, and this is, I'm just going to read it off because there's a ton of history he gave, the East German AGMS kit. They were an SOF group made up of Fallschirmjägers under direct control of the HVA, whose role was to be sappers and hunt down NATO paratroopers and SOF groups in East Germany. This, of course, is the pre-90s before the Berlin Wall fell, and this is such a neat piece of history. He notes that they trained a lot of anti-apartheid groups throughout the latter half of the 20th century, such as the PLO and MPLA. And he gives his kit list here. He's got a VEB Perfect bump helmet, a Fallschirmjäger uniform, a tracksuit, which he said is presumably to blend in with civilians after breaking contact, Fallschirmjäger vest, and jump boots. He says that they used whatever weapons they wanted, so he opted for an MP5 and other HK weaponry. You note that they trialed the MP5, so it does make sense, but I just gotta say, dude, all the history aside, I love the kit photos that you did. They're very aggressively like East German. For some reason, you nailed that aesthetic really well. Nice job. Let's take a look at those reference photos though. And I'm sure there are very few reference photos available of these guys, but from what I'm seeing, you seem to match it perfectly. All the kit pieces that you have in these training photos, looks like you've got that perfectly as well. So nice job, dude. This is an easy 10 out of 10, especially because of the history that you shared with us. Nice job. Bradley Knight Lintz shares his Desert Storm Marine impression, and taking a look, I mean, this era is not something I really explored personally, but seeing photos side by side as well as your kit, you seem to hit a lot of the main aesthetic points. You've got the 6-color desert uniform, you got the gas mask bag, Alice Web gear, you have a Pasget and the appropriate chocolate chip cover, and the desert boots. Straight off the bat, I think one thing that would make this kit stand out a ton more is not only having the rifle, of course, but to make a lot of that Alice gear kind of match the same aesthetic. You clearly have some older LC2 equipment in there, you have an M56 butt pack, and you have some pretty bright green Alice pieces as well. Maybe finding something that matches a little bit of the same worn look, pouch to pouch, might be better to help bring this impression kind of to a more cohesive look, but it also is entirely possible that these things were mismatched and ragtagged as they were put together. So now let's take a look at you matched along with the reference photos, and I think, as I had mentioned, you hit the look pretty darn well. I love that detail you have of the first aid kit on the back of the butt pack, or excuse me, on the side of the butt pack. I think that's a really cool detail that you managed to emulate pretty well. So I'd love to see a little bit more detail of this kit, maybe matching it up. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 for now, but you're doing well so far, and keep me posted. I'd love to learn more. Nice job. Ailes Brom 73 shares with us a Russian motor rifle regiment during the first Chechen War kit. He said he didn't base this kit on one photo alone, but generally things that were worn throughout multiple photos with different guys and things like that. And I think that's a totally fair way to do impressions. So let's take a look. Here, Ailes Brom shares with us an SS H68 helmet with 6B517 body armor and the bayonet, Soviet sneakers, tin canteens, 74 pouches, S-Mark tourniquets, a ton of kind of Soviet gear, but my favorite piece of this kit is that pattern. That camo pattern looks awesome. He notes that this is a VS R93 camo suit in M88 cut. And of course, he's got things like the AKM and the flares. You just put together so many Soviet Eastern Bloc items, and it all meshes together really well. I especially love how the sneakers don't match it at all. I think it's totally believable that they would have had them, and I'm excited to see the reference photos, but just from first glance, nice job, dude. This looks pretty cohesive and cool. And Ailes Brom nailed it. What I'd love to see is that armor that the other two guys on the far right have with that same kind of camo pattern, but you've matched this kit pretty darn perfectly. Specifically the shoes that you're wearing, but I'm sure that they were used. I've seen those kinds of things used in many other photos and units before. So this is a pretty darn cool kit. Seems like you've collected a lot of the really cool vintage pieces, put them together nicely, so this is gonna give you a really solid 9 out of 10. I would have just loved to see a reference of those sneakers in use. And now it's time to bring us into modernity, the post-2000s kits. As I had mentioned in the beginning of the video, stick to the end to see my absolute favorite from this entire collection, as well as to find out how you can get your kit in a special themed episode for episode 7. Regardless, let's jump right in with MPT 76762. And he sends us one of the most modern kits I think I've ever seen on this. And this is a Turkish Army Infantry Commando kit from 2025. Taking a look at this kit, and I can honestly say I think this is the first time I've seen Turkish camouflage. This looks very unique and something that I'm excited to dive into. So let's take a look at the kit pieces that you've listed out for me. I apologize if I butcher under these names, but the helmet, he says, is a Garanti composite, which is an ACH kind of mid-cut model. He's got a ton of accessories on there like the IR light, Turkish patch, and he notes any Western or American NVG would work. His uniform is made by ANAFARTA, and he says his top is the TSK Uniforma UST jacket, and his bottoms, he says, are the Karsak Operacion Pantalonu, or possibly the Doru Operacion Pantalonu TSK, which are just knee pad insert pants, maybe like Cry. His carrier is also made by ANAFARTA, and it is specifically the 7B Hukum Yelegi Tam. I'm not even going to try. I'm sorry, but it's a 5.56 vest. If you guys want to know more about this kit, I'm sure you can reach out to him and he would be able to better explain these things. But I think this is a really cool kit combo altogether. Let's take a look at those reference photos. And side by side, I think you do really well. I like to see the GoPros on there. For some reason, there are multiple photos that you've sent in where they've got those GoPros on. So nice addition to the kit. You have a ton of the uniform pieces down perfectly, even including some of the patches. The one thing I'd like to see changed maybe, and maybe this is just because they use it but it's not in these photos, is your rifle replica. Looks like they have a 4.16, possibly an A5 variant. So seeing that in your kit, maybe even later, I would love to see that addition. I think that would be a really cool way to elevate it and make it look pretty darn realistic. So overall, MPT 76762, this is something I haven't seen before and definitely the newest kit on the block. So I'm gonna give this one an easy 9 out of 10. Maybe just swap out that rifle, but nice job, dude. Continuing on to another kit, this one is a Russian Urban Stormtrooper kit from Jager. Jager found a really cool stairwell to take his photos in, and that is a hefty, heavy kit. I love how every part of it looks like, yeah, I need that eventually, so I'm gonna throw it on my kit, and it's gonna go somewhere. Maybe not the most convenient place to put it, but it's definitely thrown on somewhere on that Molly space. Going through your list, you have a Mortar Attack Gorka 3 in Moss camo, and a Mortar Attack Skiff belt with armor inserts, an assault pack, and Wagner chest rig. You have more Mortar Attack grenade pouches, AK pouches, utility pouches, just a whole bunch of different pouches and things that, as I had mentioned, are just kind of thrown on everywhere. You note that you have a commercial Chinese plate carrier and helmet, which I think is very fitting for some of the modern conflict stuff we're seeing. You do use an LCT AKS-74 with Zenetco rail mount, Fayachi flashlight, and a red dot, and I think that this is a super slick but old school looking setup simultaneously. Russian stuff isn't really my flavor. I'm not too big a fan of those kits, but I think you put together a really nice and hefty looking piece. So let's take a look at how you did with the reference photos. And you note that you use reference photos that showcase some of the exoskeleton suit stuff, and you definitely fit that heavy vibe. It looks like the top guy is using an AK-12. I can't tell because of the pixels what the guy on the bottom is using, but if your rifle is accurate, awesome, no worries. Maybe swapping it out to something a little bit more recent might be cool. But again, I don't know much about Russian kits, so let me know in the comments below. If you guys have seen pictures of this particular AKS-74 in use, let me know, I'm curious. But overall, Jager, I think this is pretty cool. Personal flavor-wise is gonna affect the score a little bit. I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10, just because maybe it's not as functional, maybe it is, I don't know, but nice job overall. I was shocked when I got this kit in. The ATF sent in an impression kit.
What?
The alcohol, tobacco, firearms, not the real ATF, but someone did an ATF kit, and this is Tachanka Bear. This is something else. I was very confused seeing this, but I think that you put together something that I've never seen before, so bonus points to you already for that. Tachanka Bear, you note that this kit is after the failed assault of the Davidian compound. The perimeter had a lot of guys on it and a lot of photos were taken, and this is where you drew that inspiration from. You have some pretty neat kind of contemporary pieces on here, so I'm gonna note them, namely the Motorola Sabre handheld radio. You have a BPS Tactical Law Enforcement LBV. You have level 2 blue soft armor by ABA, and you note that you went with this one as a substitution because the originals are rare. Undoubtedly so, I can imagine. You have a Woodland BDU set, trucker hat with ATF badge, lots of zip ties, and firearms, including the MP5 and M16A2. You're using the MP5, and I think that's a pretty cool choice. Another MP5 in this episode. This is something that I was very, very surprised to see. I didn't think anyone would ever do an impression of the ATF, especially with the hobby that we're in. So let's see how you match up with those reference photos, I guess. And yeah, just about right. It's funny, 2 of the guns that you mentioned are in this photo exactly, although I definitely see that you drew a lot of inspiration from this guy in the middle. That is a very well put together kit because I think you hit not only the vibe, but all the details too. So Tachanka Bear, did I give this one a score? Yeah, I guess. You did pretty good, impression-wise, bias aside. Easy 10 out of 10. Good job, dude. This is something I never thought I'd see. And let's keep it going with another super well thought out impression kit, this time from a repeat sender, dweelevrai. And here we have a US Delta Force kit from 2007. This is when multicam is first really hitting the market, and early GWOT kits are a super nice vibe. Your kit has a ton of cool details, that standout piece being that Mark 46, and of course, that Ranger Green Paraclete RAV. You rock a Mitch 2002, with Peltor contact ones, which are super old school, Cry Multicam, Army Custom Combat Shirt and Pants, and a ton of those Paraclete pouches. I love that Gatorade tucked in the side too. I think it's well worth just taking a look at the reference photos because I was pretty impressed when I saw them. Without a doubt, this is one of the closest one-to-ones I think I've seen without being labeled specifically a one-to-one. You matched that guy on the left of that photo almost perfectly, Gatorade included. And your buddy matched the guy on the right. dweelevrai, like, this is extremely well done, and I love the vibe of this kit. I'm getting into some pre-2000 stuff myself, so to see just over the edge into the early GWOT is really cool, and you did it really well. Overall, dude, excellent job. This is such an easy 10 out of 10 for me. You and your buddy combined. Nice job. And we get a kit from another fan favorite, 54 SKP Kueken, sends in another police kit, but hang on. This isn't some crazy high-speed SAK kit. This is kind of your everyday normal cop. Now, Pulsim is a much bigger thing over in the European community than it is here. Pulsim being like police Milsim. And here we see Kueken Schutzpolizei kit of the Landespolizei Bayern. This is a current time frame kit, and I think you could drop him in to a modern German street and no one would really bat an eye. I mean, of course, he's from over there, but yeah, I think this is a really cool, unique kit again. Something up with the police and federal kits lately. He said the vest is made by mailer law enforcement, and the uniform could be from a number of different brands, but they're all distributed by the LZM. He's got lots of belt details, including the EKA, the RSG6 pepper spray by TW1000, and the Klejuzo No. 9 handcuffs. Super unique. So let's take a look at the reference photos. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, if I didn't blur his face out, I don't think you'd be able to tell who was who. Kueken absolutely crushed this kit. It is one-to-one identical. I think you hit so many of these awesome details, especially with the 2 guys in the middle, or the guy and gal in the middle, I should say. I don't see too much of the guy on the far side, except for the uniform that you're wearing. But again, I'm sure these were used interchangeably. Kueken, as always, easy 10 out of 10, dude. Thanks again for sending in, and you crushed it. And we have another German kit, but this one goes back to the German Bundeswehr. This one comes from a friend of mine, ansgar_NG. And this is his 2020's Fallschirmjäger Regiment 31 impression kit. Now, this guy has worked really hard and focused on so many of the awesome details of this kit, so I'd love to highlight some of them. Namely, that Tam Linderhof Tactic Gen 5 plate carrier is super cool. I love those things. They're very hard to find, especially compared to the Steingrau ones. So having that with some super worn in, molly sanded pouches is a neat touch. Nice job. You're wearing a Linderhof Tactic uniform. This is the civilian style one, but that is perfectly kosher for it, and it's such a cool piece that you've added. I think a lot of impressionists would overlook that piece of kit, especially because, oh, it's civilian available, but it's legitimately used. And I think that's cool that you incorporated that into your impression. I love the G27 that you have, with that optic. Such a nice piece of kit, and I know you put a ton of research and work into that, so excellent job on that front. I think it goes without saying, when we take a look at the reference photos, we're not gonna notice anything too different, and lo and behold, here's what we've got. The guy in the middle obviously is on deployment, so he's gonna be wearing some 3-farb clothing. You're opting to use the 5-farb in these photos, which you can see on the ones on the right. Dude, I think this is an easy 10 out of 10 just because of how much work you put into this. It's clearly a solid impression kit, so nice job, dude. And before we get to my favorite kit of this episode, let me tell you how to get into the next one. Episode 7 is kind of gonna reflect some of the things that I'm interested in lately. Sorry, personal bias is gonna be a huge play in here. This is only going to be for pre-2000s kits. That's right, I don't wanna see anything from 2000 on. Has to be 1999 or before, could be super old, could be right at 1999. But I am so into some of that 80s stuff. Gothic Serpent pushing into the 90s. I love these kits lately. I'm working on so many of them myself at the moment. So I want to see those from you. As always, I need 3 things. Number 1, I need photos of you. Number 2, I need reference photos. And number 3, I need a kit list. Although I think when I go to edit it, I'm gonna do it a little bit differently next time. You'll just have to see. Now, these kits, I'm not giving you as much time on. I wanna see them by February 28th. They have to be sent in by then, no later. So that's only a few weeks. And if you do send them to me, either A, DM them to my Instagram at The.Gear.Locker, or B, send them to my email, which will both be down below. I'm super excited to see these kits, especially because it's something that I am super passionate about lately. Get them to me by the 28th, and let's go to my favorite kit of episode 6. And let me tell you guys, when I saw these photos, I had to do double takes. I had to make sure these weren't promotional photos for the Japanese military. kannietwo has sent in the coolest kit this episode. And this is a guy from Germany who's portraying a member of the current Japanese Ground Self-Defense Forces, or better known as JGSDF. He wanted to note that he's replicating the newest troops fresh out of the gate from ARDB, the Amphibious Rapid Deployment Brigade. It's kind of funny because the German impression community is like US guys doing German kits, German guys doing German kits, and Japanese guys doing German kits. There's some others in like the Czech Republic, things like that. But to see a German guy do one of the best JGSDF kits I've seen is kind of new, and he has crushed it with a lot of the details. Let me give you some of them now, such as the Type 88 helmet and cover with band, a PVS-14, a JGSDF Type 3 summer camo jacket and pants, Type 3 body armor with double mag pouches, utility pouches, the lot, and a Tokyo Marui Type 89 rifle with a replica red dot. These pictures are so incredibly well done. I see those tanks rolling in behind you in the back. Dude, this is incredibly well done. I love not only the vibes of these photos, but all of the details and unique pieces that you put together in this kit. Lining you up with the reference photos, and I would almost say you look better equipped than these guys. You absolutely nailed the vibes, nailed the setting and atmosphere of it, and you crushed this kit with so many awesome details. kannietwo, easy winner for Roast Your Kit episode 6. Dude, awesome job. I love this. And that's going to wrap up this episode of Roast Your Kit. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to send in your pre-2000s impression kits by February 28th, either to my Instagram or to my email. This is The Gear Locker. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the next one.